We don't want the valuation to be a listing document because that's not the purpose of it. The purpose is to educate the seller as to how much it's worth so that they can then decide, okay, let's say it's you, Josh. I give you a valuation. I say it's worth 300 grand. You can say to me, okay, Norma, I'm comfortable with that. Let's start a sales process. Or you can say, you know what? I'm so appreciative of this report. I've now got the 20 metrics. I now know exactly what I have to focus on over the next 2 years to increase it to 450.
Welcome to the Better Agent Podcast. If you're a real estate agent that's looking to grow your business, then you're in the right place. Whether you want to go from 5 to 10 transactions a year or 10 to 50 transactions per year or more, well, then this show is for you. I'm Josh Lavik, your host for the Better Agent Podcast, and in each episode, we'll bring you the tools, tips, and tricks directly from myself and some of the best leaders within the real estate industry. We have one goal in mind, and that's to boost your production and elevate your real estate game. Let's dive in and start creating a better real estate experience together.
Welcome back to the Better Agent Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Lavik, and today we're talking about your real estate business and how to get better in it like we often do. Although we're going to talk about it in a little bit different fashion today because while most of my guests in the past, they've all been real estate agents like myself and other agents also looking to grow that have grown their businesses in multiple successful ways. Today, I've got an interesting guest. Norma Rawlings is with me today. And I'm really excited to talk to Norma and hear more about her story and kind of her role in the real estate business because she deals a lot with more mergers and acquisitions and that type of thing and valuations of brokerages. So if you are kind of looking to grow, like that's our topic, right? That's what we talk about pretty much every episode. And so, mergers, acquisitions, that type of thing could certainly be a part of your solution if that's something you're looking to do.
Hey there, hope you're enjoying the show. I just wanted to interrupt real quick and just say that if you want more of this discussion and topic about growth in your real estate business, then I just want to invite you to join us on one of our future masterminds. We do them every week, all the time, either virtually or in person. And you can go to realestateteammastermind.com, learn a little more about that, and sign up to join us on the next call. Again, realestateteammastermind.com. Hope you're enjoying the show. Take care.
So I'm excited to dive into this topic and learn a little bit more. I don't know as much about this topic either. I've never necessarily merged with another team or brokerage or anything like that. So I'm interested to kind of hear more about that aspect of things and what we have to say. So I'll kick it over to Norma and let you, introduce yourself and share a little bit more about your background, your business, maybe what brought you here today and anything else you think would be interesting for our listeners to know.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to be with you, Josh. So I am in Canada right now, and our business spans both Canada and America. So my business partner's in Bradenton, Florida, and I was chatting with him this morning and of course said, so what's the weather like? And he said, it's gorgeous. I said, okay, next topic. I don't want to talk about this because I've got 3 feet of snow in my front yard. So what we do is we do valuations, mergers, and acquisitions for real estate brokerages. So if you think about selling a house, you have to figure out what it's worth, list it, sell it. Same concept for real estate brokerages. We help people value it so they know what it's worth, and then we help them sell it. And on the flip side of that, on your podcast, you're talking about growing. Yeah. A lot of brokers spend so much time and energy bringing in organic recruiting, right? So you know it well. You go, you have coffee with an agent, you call them, you spend 6 months wooing them, courting them. They finally agree to come over. You're thrilled. Everything's great. And then 2 weeks later, one of your top producers says, you know what, Josh, I'm going someplace else. And you're thinking, I just spent 6 months. I was +1 for all of 2 weeks, and now I'm back down to 0. Whereas what we often help our real estate brokers do is we call it recruiting through acquisition. You, instead of going out and targeting one agent or 2 agents or a team of agents, you say, okay, let me look at who my competitors are in the market, who maybe has a reason to sell, right? Who's struggling, who's wanting to retire, who has health issues, whatever the reason. There's all sorts of people on an ongoing basis who are looking to transition. And so what we encourage our brokers to do is put together a list of who those people are and then reach out and have coffee with one a week, two a week, because the beauty of that is if you end up with some sort of deal terms to purchase a brokerage rather than one agent or two agents. So it's very exciting for our brokers looking to grow. And it's also great for the brokers looking to sell because they want someone who will continue their legacy and take care of their agents.
Well, that seems like such an exciting transaction to be a part of. I mean, obviously, you know, I'm a part of an exciting transaction, right? Helping people transition in their personal homes, right? Sell a home, maybe buy another home and get into their dream home, maybe. And that can be very exciting. But yeah, finding those people that do want to sell, right? I mean, it's interesting how similar the business models do seem, right? Like in some ways, you're trying to identify people that maybe have a need and have a desire to change in their lives. And I think looking at the business aspect, I've not seen that or come across that a whole lot. I mean, we see it maybe in the big news, right? We see, right, Compass just acquired Anywhere. And so, you know, these big companies, you know, Rocket Mortgage acquired, I forget the name of the company, but, you know,
I think it was Redfin, Rocket and Redfin.
Rocket and Redfin. Yeah, exactly. So like these big mergers are definitely happening. And I think, you know, probably part of that might be contributed to just the lower transaction counts that we've had recently. But I mean, maybe just the competition in the marketplace. You probably know more than I do, in fact, but I just think it's interesting how, okay, well, maybe if I do have a smaller brokerage and I'm wanting to change or grow, I like that aspect. How do you go about evaluating like what's a brokerage, right? I mean, I know for property, I look at comparable sales and what else is sold in the area, but I got to imagine that a lot of that data, at least for brokerages or other businesses, is maybe not public information or public record, right? I mean, do you have that data or how does that work?
So we have a large database because of all the transactions we've done, but you're absolutely right. It's not publicly available in the marketplace. And so we look at about 20 different metrics in our valuations, but the ones that we focus in on, there's about 5 or 6. So the first one we look at, Josh, is what cash does your business generate? So what free cash flow every year does your business generate? And so to do that, we say, okay, what's your profit? And then we make our sort of normalizing adjustments to say, okay, Josh, did you pay yourself a fair salary last year? Okay, Josh, are you in owned premises or do you rent from a third party? Do you run cell phones through the business? Do you run kids' cars? Your kids are too young, Josh, but definitely I have lots of brokers who run all the cars through the business.
As much as they can run it through the business, they will. You bet. And then you strip that out from the P&L.
100%. So we add back all of those sort of discretionary personal expenses. We add back one-time capital expenses to create a normalized cash flow. So we say, okay, Josh, how much does your business generate in cash?
Yeah.
And let's say it generates $100,000 a year. Let's say consistently $8,000 a month. Although, as you know, cash flow for a brokerage is never consistent unless it's a property management company. It's sort of like up and down. But let's say it's $100,000 a year.
There's some seasonality, right? I mean, when there's 3 feet of snow on the ground in Ontario and not as many people want to move, let's be honest, right?
100%. Wisconsin's the same, right? I'm sure your spring market, summer market, fall market is much busier than your winter market.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, bell-shaped curve is absolutely a normal thing around here. Most sales tend to occur during those warmer months for sure.
Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah. And so we look at what cash it generates. That's one metric. Second metric is how many agents do you have? So let's say you have 30 agents. Well, each agent, if you're not a luxury brokerage, is worth between $5,000 and $15,000 generally. Now there's exceptions. Sometimes they can be worth more if they're not producing. Sometimes they can be less. Sometimes they can be worth a lot more if they're a very productive agent. But give or take 5,000 to 15,000 per agent is sort of in and around a range. And then we look at sales volume. How much sales volume does your brokerage do? How much gross commission income does it enjoy? What sort of market metrics are you in? You're in Madison, so you're in the capital city. You know, is that make it steadier with more government type coming and going? Those sorts of things. The other thing we look at is who are your competitors? Right? Yeah. Is it a robust market? Do you have more agents than you can accommodate, or is it a place where I did one, Josh, in Newfoundland?
Oh,
I mean, that's a tiny province of ours.
I was gonna say, well, and pretty rural, remote area, right?
remote rural, those agents were worth 70, 80, 90,000 each because nobody is there. They have a captive market, right?
Oh, wow.
So lots of different variables, but those are some of them that we look at. And then that $100,000 cash flow you have, let's say you had 30 agents, you might be worth 300 grand, right? Which is basically 100,000 times a 3-time multiple. Work it out to the agents, about 10 grand an agent. Yeah, you're in that range. That's what you're worth, give or take.
Okay. Got it. So maybe 30 agents might be worth 300 grand if that's around 10,000 per agent. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's interesting how you go about that. I mean, is that so if I were say I have a brokerage and I've got 30 agents or somewhere around that or whatever, I mean, I don't know, if I hear that, part of me feels like, God, I feel like it should be worth more. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's like the seller that thinks their house is worth more, right? Because it's theirs.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I mean, do you encounter that sometimes where oftentimes the broker owner that maybe is looking to sell is sometimes has a different inflated number in mind?
For sure. Same as you have sellers who think their house is worth far more than it actually is.
Best one in the neighborhood, I swear.
Absolutely. And what's interesting, Josh, is so luxury brokerages are worth more. So if you had a specialty in luxury, meaning like you're double the median price point, your agents could be worth somewhere between 30 and 50,000 each. Because again, it's all about productivity and what they generate. Because when you think about a brokerage, you're valuing the agents, right? There's no real tangible physical assets that are worth anything significant. You're valuing the agents and the ability of the broker to transition those agents over to the buyer. So
because that's going to continue to produce the cash flow, right? And the value of the business overall, right?
100%. So we had a situation in Florida. We had a broker with about 100 agents, and his son-in-law was in tech. So his son-in-law told his father-in-law that the brokerage was worth $3 million. So I had the very unenviable task of explaining to him that in fact it was only worth 1.5. So because of course he was a very productive brokerage, did a great job, but he only had 100 agents. He only had, about 450, 500,000 of cash flow. You just can't get to 3 million with that. There's no real estate brokerage in the country, either America or Canada, that's going to justify a 6 times multiple right now. So now the public markets are different, but the private markets, multiples about 3 times, give or take. Some are 2, some are 4. There's a range there, but so I had the unenjoyable task of telling him, I'm sorry, your son-in-law's in tech. Tech companies are just valued differently than real estate brokerages because it's all in the repeatability of cash flow. As you just said, you got to transition those agents over. You have to make sure the agents are content that they're going to stay with the buyer. So there's probably a transition period for you there where you have to stay with the new company for at least 6 months to a year to make sure your agents are happy. And that's where the value is.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's I suppose, some agents, if they do change over or merge with another company, they may or may not be happy with that. And so, there's no guarantee that if this merger or change happens, like all those agents are just going to stay happy and satisfied and want to stay there. So I would imagine there's probably some attrition and loss just due to that aspect of things.
Yeah, I know it's a great insight because agents hate change.
Yeah.
So the moment you change something, which is the ownership, what you don't want them to do is sort of go, oh, okay, I'm leaving Josh anyway. Let me look at all my options. What you want to do in the transition is everything stays the same, right?
Yeah.
The person who cut the check stays the same. The person who puts the coffee in the coffee machine stays the same. The owner that you like and relate to stays the same. So it's a matter of that 6 to 12 months transition period where you change as little as possible. You don't change their compensation plans. You don't change their physical location. You literally keep it status quo while you develop a relationship with that agent separate from the seller.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Interesting. Do you do this mostly, with all different companies and brokerages? I mean, franchises, independents, and everything in between?
We are agnostic.
Agnostic. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
So
mean, at the end of the day, as long as you,
we've
yeah.
done work for Remax. We've done work for independents. We've done work for the agency, Sotheby's, Christie's, Royal LePage, Century 21, like any brand, Compass, Aperture, like any brand that has a real estate brokerage, we are happy to help. And the way we work is we always feel like, you're good appraisers in Wisconsin who every time you hire them, they're going to be bang on.
Yeah.
That's the reputation we aim for. We don't want to be known as someone you can manipulate, right? We don't
Sure.
want the valuation to be a listing document because that's not the purpose of it. The purpose is
Right.
to educate the seller as to how much it's worth so that they can then decide, okay, let's say it's you, Josh. I give
Yeah.
you a valuation. I say it's worth 300 grand. You can say to me, okay, Norma, I'm comfortable with that. Let's start a sales process. Or you can say, you know what? I'm so appreciative of this report. I've now got the 20 metrics. I now
Yeah.
know exactly what I have to focus on over the
Yeah.
next 2 years to increase it to 450. And so
Right.
it sort of gives you the playbook as to how to increase the value of that brokerage so that you obtain from it what you want. So the valuation, similar to an appraisal, is very educational. It's an educational
Sure.
document that our intent is that it be accepted by both sides. And that's generally the way our transactions work. So we don't use it as, okay, Josh is worth 300. Well, let's see if we can get him 500. It's not that sort of industry. And as
Okay.
you know, with the house, if you list a $300,000 house at 500, it usually sits and sits and sits and grows stale and sits and sits.
Right. But if you redo the kitchen and the floors and everything else, then
100%,
maybe it is worth 500. But
100%.
yeah, okay. So what are the
Same
key
concept.
metrics and things that you need to do within your business that can bump that value, so to speak, right? Whether it's, this makes a lot of sense, I think.
Yeah. And some of those things are increase the agent count.
Yep.
Reduce your occupancy expenses. A lot of brokers sort of during COVID and currently are trying to figure out what their occupancy cost should be, right? And a lot of brokers are way over.
Yeah.
I saw a brokerage the other day in Florida, nice guy. He was paying 50% of his gross margin to occupancy. And I said, like, I can't sell this for you. It's just so out of whack. You should be a quarter of your gross margin or less for occupancy. Same thing with labor, right? If you've got all sorts of people helping you, that's great. But if it means that you have a bloated organization and a large salary line, that decreases the value of your brokerage. So the key is to be as efficient as possible without losing the agent touch features that the agents value. So labor is another one where we say, okay, you should be no more than a quarter of that gross margin should go to labor. So because those are your two biggest expenses, right? Occupancy and labor. And so, to your point, what the valuation report does is it lets you look and say, okay, these are the areas where I need to increase my agent count. I need to reduce my occupancy costs. I need to reduce my labor costs and increase the cash flow. And all of a sudden you could go from that 300 to 450 within a couple of years easy.
Huh. Interesting. Okay. I like it. Yeah. No, that's a good insight. Good advice. I mean, I wonder, I meet with a bookkeeper about once a quarter, and we go over our financials just in my own business and everything. And it's amazing just that insight of even looking at it. And I mean, I get the monthly financial reports and I know I'm supposed to look at them every month. And I try to do that as consistently as possible. But I like that, at least once a quarter, I am meeting with him to do that and kind of go over it together. It kind of forces me to do that. But I think, like maybe like an appraisal, right? It can maybe see, the valuation model can help bring some insight in terms of what holes are there right now and where else could the value be. So I love that.
Third parties are great for that. They're a mirror, right? You your accounting guy, he gives you a different perspective than you have because you're enmeshed in the business. You're
right. I'm totally in it.
You're midnight Saturday. You're on the phone with agents, making sure the deal's closed, right? That's just what you do. That is your life. And so having someone sort of step back and say, okay, Josh, these are your quarterly numbers.
Yeah.
We're underwater here. We're doing great here. It's
Yep.
so valuable to you.
Totally.
I'm a member of Entrepreneurs Organization, and they always
Yeah.
say, try to work on your business, not in your business. And it's a
Yep.
great conceptual theory. The reality, as you and I know, is far harder. But
Yeah.
the conception is great. It's like, oh, sure, I should be working on my business, not in my business. Meanwhile,
Yeah.
in your business, you're busy as heck. So
Meanwhile, in the business, I gotta put this deal together and get this closed. This is how we get paid. This is what's happening. It's like, yeah,
100%. You've
the
got cash
template
flow.
can wait. I don't.
Yes, you've got payroll, you've got rent, you've got stuff to pay. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no, I think it makes sense. No, yeah, I think I read the E-Myth, right? That's a often quoted book from years ago, and it's like same kind of thing, right? It's like, how can you systematize your business so you are working on the business and some of the systems and the operations, rather than just being a good, transaction person, right? Like it
Yes.
needs to
Oh,
be so
yeah.
much more than that. So
Well,
no, I think it's
and
really
so
cool.
many brokers, so many brokers become brokers because they're great salespeople.
Sure.
And what you notice is sometimes the ability to sell houses doesn't translate into being operationally efficient, right? Sometimes they're the
Yeah.
exact opposite skill set. And
Yeah.
so when you start to think about your business and say, okay, I need to create a business where there's repeatable cash flow for a new owner, it gives
Hmm.
you that third party perspective we were talking about, where you have to stand back and say, okay, if someone buys me, how do I
Yeah.
ensure that the cash keeps being generated when I physically am not
Yeah.
doing what I'm doing? And so it's a
Totally.
great mindset shift in
Yeah.
the way you then can plan 2, 3, 4 years out to make
Yeah.
changes, to bring in people to help with things, to create a structure, and as you said, systems and processes that allow you to repeat the cash flow without you having to take the midnight phone calls on the Saturday.
Yeah, I love that. So so business valuation, what does something like that cost for somebody to go through that process? And what does it take a long time, or what does that look like?
So it ranges in cost from about $3,500 to about $7,000. And
Okay.
it depends on the size of the brokerage, Josh. Now, we have a free valuation tool on our website
Sure.
where if you just want to get an order of magnitude, you,
Yeah.
we ask you about 20 questions, you answer all the questions, and it'll spit out sort of a range of value for you. But
Okay.
if you want something that you can sort of manage with, right? So
Yeah.
as we talked about, use as a playbook to say, okay, these are the things I have to change in order to get to that 450, whereas I'm at 3 now.
Yeah.
Then you want a formal valuation report. It's about 20 pages. Takes us
Okay.
about 2 or 3 weeks to generate once we have all the information from you. And a lot of people do it every couple of years, like they update it every couple of years for their
Okay.
planning purposes, but it's brilliant when you're going for a sales process. So
Sure.
planning tool, it's great, but it's critically important for a sales process for the same reasons you and I've been talking about.
Yeah.
If somebody wants to sell their house and they have no idea what it's worth, you have to
Right.
educate them about what it's worth before they can give you informed advice about listing price, right? Same idea
Yeah.
with the sales process. If you have the valuation report, you know what a third party purchaser is going to look at
Yep.
when they look to buy your brokerage. If you're comfortable with that price, that's the start of your sales process.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, and probably similar to like a house, I would imagine maybe there's a few, maybe it's not all 20 things that you might improve, but maybe if there's 3 or 4 that if you do these really move the needle, right? Like if you
Yes.
really, put in that new carpet that get rid of that stinky smell, right? Then that'll make a big difference and among all buyers, right? In terms of valuation on the house and in the business.
Absolutely. Cash flow, as we talked about,
Yeah.
is critical. If
Yeah.
you can increase your cash flow by reducing some of your expenses, huge win valuation
Yeah.
wise.
Right.
Increase your agent count, as we talked about, huge win valuation wise. So those are two things that if you can focus on increasing cash flow, increasing agent count, it will always increase the
Yeah.
value of your business.
Gosh, I love that. Well, very cool. Well, this has been eye-opening for me, and I've enjoyed this conversation. So,
You're gonna have to target who in your
yeah,
who in your local market, which competitors. What we tell our brokers is we say if
yeah,
you're interested in recruiting through acquisition,
yeah,
then put together a target list, same as you would when you're
right,
recruiting agents one at a time. You
yeah,
literally look at your competitors, you say, okay, who's on this list? And what we found in the past is sometimes people will say to me, well, Norma, I don't want to target people who are so big because they'll be insulted that I approached them. And I always say,
yeah,
that is like, you're not calling them up and saying, hey, it's Josh, I want to buy your business, because you're probably going to
yeah.
get up on, right? You're
Well,
calling
and
them up.
and that decision, I can't imagine happens like overnight. Like that's going to
No,
be a process. It's a discovery.
what you want to do, Josh, is you want to create those relationships
Yeah,
where they know you're looking to recruit through acquisition. They know
sure.
you're looking to acquire brokerages, and you're their first call when something happens, health wise or retirement wise or family
Yeah,
wise, where they go, you know what? Let's talk to Josh. He said he might be interested in buying. Like, that's your intention. And
totally.
when you put that list together, your intention is literally coffee. It's, we're in the same industry, same town. Why don't we sit down and have some coffee and talk about the market? Because we're both in it. And you create a relationship that you can then, let them know, look, we're on the prowl. We would love to grow through acquisition. If you know anybody who's looking to sell, I'd love a call. That's the conversation you want to have, because
Sure.
then it's not
Yep.
threatening to them. It's more an invitation for
Right.
mutual benefit.
Right. If they know of someone or hear of someone else, great, awesome. Like that's yeah. Well, it's no different than I'm meeting someone to buy, potentially, somebody in my network or somebody that's maybe not looking to buy or sell a home, but I can go meet them for coffee. And then, hey, so if you know of someone looking to buy or sell a home, please keep me in mind, right? Well, it's just a similar but different conversation, right? They're putting out there a different intention, and yet it very much happens in much the same way. So I love the
Well, and
similarities.
you've talked about that whole thing about you put it out there, right? And
Yeah.
that's exactly it. You put it out there so that they
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
you're looking to grow. And all of
Yeah.
a sudden, even just, communicating that creates
Yeah.
some momentum, creates some action, creates some openness to potential deals.
Yeah. Well, there you go. I'm putting it out there right now. Anybody listening, I'm looking to grow. That's why I'm even doing this podcast is I have a desire to grow, and what that looks like and where that ends up being. I have no idea. I know where my company is now, and I am looking to grow. So I'm putting it out there.
I love that. We've
Yeah.
got two brokers, Josh. One has gone from 16 locations to 30 in the time
Wow.
we've been helping him over the last 3 years. The other's gone from 28 to 60. So
Wow.
when you put that intention out there, be careful. What do they say? Be careful what
Yeah.
you wish for, Josh, because it just might all come, all of a sudden you might be a 400 agent company and you'd be like, darn, I wish I hadn't had that conversation with Norma. I'm not sleeping.
Norma, we got another acquisition here. We need a valuation here. Right?
Exactly. So that's what we do with those two is
Yeah.
we help them value and we help them structure the deal because they know exactly what they want and they put it out there. We're on, we're growing. We're on the hunt for good opportunities, and don't opportunities come their way all the time.
Yeah, it's if you put it out there and that's what you're looking for, you will find it. I mean, that makes sense. That's the reticular activating system at work. And here we
Yeah.
are. You just put it out there and away we go.
So
So,
as I say, be careful what you wish for. You might be cursing me, or your wife might be cursing me in about 6 months, saying, why did you have Norma on your podcast?
yeah.
Now you don't spend any time at home.
Yeah, right.
And you and I both have twin boys, so it's essential that we spend
Yeah,
time at home.
for sure. Yep. Spending time with the kids and is definitely important. And trying to have that balance is important. But I like
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
But the nice thing about growing your brokerage is you touched on it earlier, the Compass Anywhere merger. If it
Yeah.
teaches us anything, it teaches us that you need scale, right? You
Right.
need to because there's fixed costs now in real estate brokerages.
Yeah.
You need to be able to take those costs and apply them across a larger agent pool. That's
Right.
just the reality of the business right now, where 20 years ago, a 10 agent, a 15 agent, a 20 agent brokerage could be profitable and do well. It's now moving to 50, 75, 100,
Mm,
125. It's crazy. Like, you think about it. In
sure.
in Wisconsin, how many brokerages have more than 100 agents? Like, you can probably
Yeah,
count them on two hands. But
probably. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
the trend. The trend is become a little bit bigger every year, because in doing that, all of a
Yep.
sudden you're able to allocate those fixed costs across more people and provide more services for your agents. So
Well, that's what I was thinking too. Even if I'm an agent, right? If I'm an agent at a much smaller brokerage, and I see some of these other larger brokerages and maybe what they are offering to their agents. I mean, are they able to even offer as much in terms of brokerage value and tools and systems and all that kind of stuff? I mean, I know that's that's honestly, that's part of one of the reasons I'm a part of EXP, right? Like, I could have gone independent years ago. I got my broker's license, but I chose to align myself with a much larger company just because I do value some of those larger tools and resources and things like that that are available. And so yeah, I guess I wonder how much more, in today's era. I mean, how much more does that matter? I mean, I don't know. And you're seeing that trend. I mean, you just touched on it. It sounds like you are seeing that trend more and more.
for
So
sure. And the EXP connection, Josh, that's a great example of the collective giving you all sorts of benefits that you as an independent broker couldn't provide to your agents. And that's
yeah,
exactly what scale does. It gives you tools
yeah,
that you can afford, because you think about an agent, they want you to help them sell more houses and make more money, right?
yep,
That's generally what they want. And so
yep,
you're looking to create the tools to do that. If you have 10 more agents, all of a
yep,
sudden you have more revenue to create more leads to create, right? It's just like it's a
totally.
momentum.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. If I have more agents that are bringing in more revenue, I can offer them more. Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we always, all of our deals, we aim for a win-win.
yeah,
It's not like you're buying a used car. It's not like, you're walking away from the transaction. You can't. You've got all these agents that have depended on you for years. You're going
yeah,
to stick around and make sure they're okay. So it has to be mutually beneficial or it doesn't work. If one person's
right.
trying to screw over the other,
Yeah.
the transaction doesn't work. And it's the same with agents, right? If you're
Well, and the
looking,
business will tank, right? I
yeah,
mean,
you want your agents to do well. Like,
yeah,
your objective is for
yeah,
your agents to succeed. And same thing
totally.
with merging of brokerages or the
Yep,
purchase and sale of a brokerage. You want that brokerage to continue to thrive and benefit from the synergies of being bigger.
totally. Yeah, for sure. No, I love that. I love it. Well, Norma, I've really enjoyed this conversation. We've touched on lots of different things, lots of similarities, but growth through acquisition and mergers is something, I hadn't thought about it as much, but I think it's very relevant and very much could be a part of a lot of agents' businesses or brokers. If you're a small broker, maybe, and looking to thinking about how do I grow? Am I tired of just the 1, 2 at a time, right? Maybe this acquisition thing could be more. You could get more agents, get more synergies, get more people involved, and suddenly, maybe even have a little more fun even, right? So,
For
uh,
sure. And there's lots of people looking to exit the business, right? There's lots
yeah.
of brokers in their 60s, 70s, 80s. We even have one in their 90s. And
Oh,
they
sure.
eventually they want to slow down, they want to sell, or they want to merge, or they want to do something so that they're able to spend more time with their grandkids or more time, doing social pursuits. And so
Yeah.
it's again, it's that win-win where there's lots of opportunity when you find someone who wants to slow down and you want to ramp up. Perfect.
Yeah. That's a perfect win-win scenario. It sounds like, definitely. Well, very cool. Well, if somebody listening out there wanted to get in touch with you and maybe take the next step with your business, what would be the best way for them to do that?
Broker VMA is our website. Stands for
Okay.
Broker Mergers Value, Broker VMA, Broker Valuations, Mergers, Acquisitions. So brokervma.com.
Brokervma.com. If you're interested in talking to Norma, check that out. And yeah, I guess I didn't have anything else to share, but I thought we'd wrap things up. And
Oh, good. That's perfect. And on the website, Josh, my partner and I wrote a book all about The Complete Guide to Buying and Selling Real Estate Brokerages. So it gives you
Complete guide.
10
Well, there you
steps to
go.
success.
Oh, that sounds like a great one. I'll have to check that out for sure. So I love that.
Thank
Well, I
you
love
for
this.
having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on the show, and thank you for sharing some wisdom and insight with some of our listeners, and opening, like I said, my eyes to what this possibility could be. And yeah, anyone else listening, if you're interested in hearing more about growth in your real estate business, tune in next time as we bring on other similar guests that have similar stories, but may or may not be agents themselves. Right, we're expanding the horizon a little bit. And hopefully you got some value out of today's call. But today, you're listening to the Better Agent Podcast. Again, I'm your host, Josh Lavik, and that's our show for today.
Thanks for tuning in to the Better Agent Podcast. I hope you found today's insights valuable. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review if you enjoyed the show. Stay tuned for more tips, Q&A sessions, and sneak peeks into our 21-day challenge. To get full access of our show notes and more details on the 21-day challenge, go to abetterrealestateexperience.com. Keep striving for greatness, and I'll see you on the next episode.